Glad that that's not here.
It's coming.
They're coming for you now.
Ah, crap. I am armed. Always assume the attacker's on the local network. While in Norway, I decided to be a dick. This is the first time I'd ever traveled to another continent, so spending time in international airports and that, and at this conference that with people who I was informed were generally knowledgeable about security, but not necessarily technical security. Let's see what the level of knowledge of these people is. So I decided to fire up AirPwn and see what sort of content I could redirect and replace. First image I started injecting, I started seeing popping up on people's laptops. A lot of head scratching. You know, 8-foot kayak, 10-foot shark. That says pwned. Started injecting this, you'd see somebody pull up Google News or something, or pull up their webmail, and they see the same little icon. But the problem was it kept getting shrink down to this tiny little icon. You couldn't really tell what it was. So not many people noticed. They were like, okay, maybe something's weird, whatever. But kind of sitting there after the first day, let's up the ante here. Let's see how this room full of people, how they deal with seeing this every time they load an image.
And you wonder why they thought it was you.
I didn't get punched in the face, but I had some people coming up to me going, dude, how are you hacking my laptop? Why are you hacking my laptop? What did I do to you? Come to my talk. Yeah, I filled the room. But it was highly entertaining. It was really interesting to see how many people, these were some bright people. I mean, I was seeing this on, semantic computer, vendor computers. I was seeing this on all of these, everybody's computers, because they just weren't thinking. They were going for, there was 3 networks there. There was an open one, a web encrypted one, and a WPA one. They were using the open one almost exclusively. I think there was only 3 clients I saw through the entire weekend. Yes, I was sniffing all the traffic. There was only 3 that were connected to the web network, and I think it was 1 that connected to the WPA one. And I think that was just for an administrative reason. So you need to, if the options exist, you really need to tell users, like, dude, it's there, use it. How many of you have used the WPA network here? How many of you have just used the open one? All right. Well, I wasn't actually transmitting. Well, the thing is, I wouldn't dare put this kind of experiment here because a lot of people know me, and more likely to kick me in the nuts. So, but basically, you start looking, and even last night, we were Robin Wright is he? Robin Wright wrote some patches for Karma to get it working under Mad Wi-Fi, and basically we spent a couple of hours beating it to work under Ubuntu. Somebody connected to my computer is Karma, Global Suite Wireless, and started hitting Yahoo Mail, started hitting some really interesting company name emails, mail servers, trying to get out. Of course, I didn't have net access, but I was seeing them try to do the host lookups. Even at a security conference here, somebody was doing something interesting. Stuff still works, and I mean, Karma's been around a couple of years now. I mean, the last version released, I think, was 2006. So, still a very real threat, still very useful. And I mean, this was at 3 o'clock in the morning, and only sick bastards like me are up that hour playing on the wireless network. So you gotta wonder who it is. New things like hacking the friendly skies by our friend here, Simple Nomad. One of the better stories that I've ever heard is, you got the CEO guy sitting up the front of the plane, first class, sipping his champagne while you're back in cattle class, wondering if there's more room in the overhead compartment than your seat. You're sitting there, he's working away on his laptop, despite all the warnings that the stewardesses give you and everything, he's probably still got his wireless on, chewing up his battery. Well, the best story I ever heard was a friend of mine visiting a client site, going there to do a penetration test. One of the top level guys for the site was sitting in first class while they were back in cattle class. They connected him and pre-owned his box before they even landed. So when he plugged it into the network back at the office, opens up a back door for them. They can waltz right in. So if Bob is traveling and he's constantly working on his laptop, you could sit there screwing with him through the entire flight. You know, if you crash the plane, that's your own damn fault. By no means am I advocating actually using this, but you know, Simple's got some wonderful stories about browsing people's shares, finding, you know, private documents, getting all sorts of background information on these people, going up, you know, dressed as he is and scaring the living shit out of them. You know, hey Bob, how you doing? How's the kids? You know, how's the boss? You know, how's that project going? You know, people look at you, it's like, what fresh hell did you crawl out of? You know? But also, it's not just the data that he had, that Bob would have with him personally. Things like the Cafe Latte exploit that came out last year, where I can sit there and with your laptop, if it's on and is ever connected to a web encrypted network back at your office, I can sit there cranking away and extract the web key from your computer, even if it's not connected to anything. I just have to be able to interact with your network card. You know, I know Bob works for Widgets International. I want to target Widgets International. I get the web key from him, and I can just go right down to headquarters, plug in, and away we go. You all remember what happened at TJX. You know, that was a web encrypted network that got the foothold into the whole thing. You know, that turned into a bad situation. You know, I mean, there's other jackassery one can do, like DDoS attacks, but, you know, if the wireless network is on, it's probably pwnable in some way. You know, we all know this. Why aren't we teaching our users this? You know, what do? Turn the damn things off. Like, I've got mine off right now. I'm saving battery life. The number of times I see stuff on airplanes chewing up batteries. I mean, if you're on an 8-hour flight and you got a 6-hour battery, well, turn off the Wi-Fi. You might get a little extra. VPNs, use them. Assume you're being attacked, particularly if I'm around. You know. Some of the better stories I've heard actually is customer networks. You know, you got a sales guy goes onto a customer wireless network to get access to whatever documents. How do you know that customer's not sniffing your traffic, looking to see what your margin is on your products to know how much he can talk you down? You know, other things like that. Or use that as leverage when they're going against their competitor, saying, "Oh, I know that, you know, widgets cost this much. You know, how much can you do? You know, playing those kind of games." So, hear your shit. Yeah. How many have got sales guys that always seem to have the phone glued to their head, and you really wish they did give you cancer? You know, a number of you. I have a personal hatred for Bluetooth headsets. I mean, I have them. I use them when I'm driving, you know, when you actually need a hands-free situation. But those guys that have them on all the time, I have a very special place in my heart to screw with them. Thank you. How pretentious is it that you are, you know, standing in line at a Dunkin' Donuts, that you're so important that you have to get that phone call within 2 seconds? I mean, there's, oh, I wish I had loaded it up, but there's a wonderful Bud Light commercial. You know, guys picking up no, it's Keystone Light. Guys picking up the case of beer out of the fridge at the store, and this really hot woman comes up behind him and says, "Yeah, you know, so I was wondering, you know, did you want to go to a party tonight?" And, "Oh, me? Yeah, sure." Like, "Hold on. What? Sorry?" You know, got the headset on, you know, goes on, you know, pitches the product, comes back to the till, and she's standing behind the guy as he's paying. He's like, "Yeah, I'd really like to apologize for that earlier." Turns out, "Oh, that's okay." "Sorry, what?" I hate those things. So, some other things you see, I'm not sure, like, I haven't seen a lot of it in Canada. I don't know if it's in the States, but I know out of South Africa, they're using SMS messages for authentication with internet banking. So you do a transaction, and before the transaction goes through, it SMSs you a verification code that you have to enter, you know, to verify that, you know, it's not somebody that's just swiped your username and password. They also would have had to swipe your phone and, you know, all that stuff. So, and another layer that has actually been used to clone somebody and get their bank account information. And how many of you have, like, massive amounts of company, you know, private information on your phone directory listings? I mean, think about this, like things like the iPhone and, you know, all these all the PDAs. There's a massive amount of company info in these things. They're not just a phone anymore. Does anybody actually make a cell phone that just makes calls anymore? No? No? All right. I'm not talking about the old Motorola bricks.